Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Imola for race 2 in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Series. It's a race day 2. It is Sunday, and the sun is shining, and the grid is being set for race 2 to get underway. 30 minutes of action to come. Here is the calendar. We've been to Spain, to Monza, to Budapest, to La Casale, the UK, Silverstone. Now we're at Imola before the Finale Mondiale at the end of the month, which comes just up the road, relatively, in Mugello. So the beautiful countryside that surrounds this incredible circuit here at Imola, the 4.936 kilometre circuit, which features 16 really rather challenging turns. 9 of them are left-handers, 6 of them are right-handers, and as always the grid is a particularly packed place ahead of the start of race number 2. All the social media at the bottom of the screen for you on the graphics there that indicate this 4.909 kilometre circuit. So spectators then making themselves ready for the Coppa Shell race to come. The air temperature is a really rather lovely 20 degrees. Track temperature is 31 degrees. No overnight rain, which means that the track is bone dry. And of critical importance, so too the runoff areas, the grass and the AstroTurf, as we look at the Hublot safety car, which will lead the cars away on their formation lap for their 30-minute race to come. Qualifying, some history was set because for the first time ever in the Ferrari Challenge, we have a female pole sitter. It's Fabienne Volvend, who is, as you can see, the first ever female driver on pole. Can she become the first ever female driver to win a Ferrari Challenge race? Well, she certainly put herself in the best position to do so. And it's Björn Grossman, the Octane 126 driver, who's having a conversation with her down there on the grid. Fabienne Volvend then from pole. Henry Hassid goes P2. Johnny Lawson is P3 with another fast lady, Manuela Gosner, going from P4 ahead of her father, Thomas Gosner, P5. Christoph Herney then is going from P6 on the grid. Claudio Schiavone and Fons Skeltermar share row 4, and on row 5 it's Eric Prinot and Eric Chung. Christian Kinch and Vladimir Haladik go from row 6 on the grid, P11 and P12, with Murat Kuhadaroglu and Tommy Lindroth on row 7. Laurent Demuse and Ingvar Matson with Tina Koch and David Lim on the 9th row of the grid. Ahead of Henry Kanstrup and Karl Oppitzhauser, Tadakazu Kojima and James Wayland then bringing up the rear for this 30-minute race. There is the Henry Hassid car then. Henry Hassid, who's chasing Johnny Lawson hard in the championship points position and has had an incredible run of success as the French driver driving for the Charles Pozzi team. 6 wins out of 7 races, which is remarkable. And P2 on the grid for today's race. You certainly wouldn't bet against Henry Hassid taking yet another win. So the Imola circuit here in Italy, which is where we're at for the second from last round of the Ferrari Challenge for 2017. The calendar already set for 2018, and what a phenomenal calendar it is, including for me, highlights night races at Misano. So a little bit further down the country in Italy, we will go for those night races, as I said, in the Misano circuit. So the safety car that's driven by former Ferrari Challenge champion Beppe Scanetti, which will be leading the cars away just moments from now. And there the grid in full for you from that great camera angle. It's an interesting start-finish straight here at Imola because it's not so very straight. It contains a turn, which is the Variante Bassa turn, which is, you can just see that at the back of the grid before they head up towards the Tragordo and Tamburello section of the circuit, which is something of a pinch point here. So then just a few moments away from the cars being released on their formation lap, and drivers at this moment really feeling the tension and the apprehension ahead of the race. So, Imola circuit is where we are at. So a little postcard of our venue here at Imola, the surrounding town, and also the racing circuit and the paddock, of course, as we celebrate 70 years of the phenomenal brand that is Ferrari. So people making their way off the grid now, and we're standing by for the start of the race to come. Fabienne Volven, then first ever lady pole sitter here in the Ferrari Challenge, will be going from P1. Henry Hassid alongside. Then it's Johnny Lawson and Manuela Gosner. We've been finding out during the course of the season plenty about this all-new Ferrari 488, and here's Mark Chenet with more.
Ergonomics are of utmost importance in the Ferrari 488 Challenge. Now, we have some new equipment. The first one is the display, fully digital display, which gives a lot of information, very easy to see everything in the car. And then, as you can see, the position of the driving is just perfect. And everything is in reach for the driver. Now, we have a new Manettino as well, not only the traction control, which is in two different splits. One is when the traction control comes in, and the other one is for how long. But also we have a new Manettino here, which is the ABS, and it has even up to 4 different positions of ABS, so you make sure that ABS adapts to your driving style. But honestly, when you drive this car and the position of the car, you just feel part of the 488 Challenge.
So Mark Genet then explaining just a little bit more about the 488 car, which of course is the car for this year's Ferrari Challenge. Launched this year at the Valencia circuit, which was round one of the Ferrari Challenge for this season. So the all-new 488 car, which has a number of improvements over the 458 Evo car, which was last year's Ferrari Challenge machine. So as the graphics indicate, then we're getting ready for Coppa Shell Race 2. The race yesterday, well, was very exciting indeed. We're expecting much the same to come from the Coppa Shell racing today. P1 was Henry Hassid yesterday. P2 was Fabienne Volven, who's going from pole position today.
Hi, my name is Fabienne Volven. I'm 19 years old and I'm racing for the Team Octane 126. And we're here in Imola, one of my favorite tracks. And today I did my first pole position in GT racing cars on my second race in the Ferrari Challenge.
And a jolly fine job, Fabienne, you did as well. It's a pole position then for Fabienne Volven. Alongside is Henry Hassid. Then it's Johnny Lawson and Manuela Gosner. So 2 ladies in the first 4 positions. And there the cars just awaiting the off for this a race in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell, which is primarily for ladies and gentlemen drivers. So the car's released now. The safety car is up the road. And there you can see Fabienne Volven leads the cars away then. Claudio Schiavone, Eric Prinot in car number 181. There's Christian Kinch in 182. Murat Kuhardaroglu 133. And all the social media at the top of the screen for you now to be as big a part of the Ferrari Challenge as you can possibly be. Lots of opportunities for you to be involved. Cars make their way through the Trigado and Tamburello turns, then turns 2, 3 and 4, and heading up towards the next chicane, which is the Villeneuve chicane, which is turns 5 and 6, which is where we find the car now. It's the car of Johnny Lawson that we're on board with, looking back at Manuela Gosner. And behind Manuela Gosner is Thomas Gosner and Eric Chung we go on board with now, looking forward at the car of Eric Prinot. So onto the starter's gantry, where the lights change. And it's always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge. The safety car will pick the cars up towards the end of the lap. They'll all get into grid order, and then they will approach the starting gantry. The lights will go green, and the race will be on. So, as you can see, safety car has already picked up the front runners in the grid. Fabien Volvend and Henry Hassid and Johnny Lawson and Thomas Gosner. And Manuela Gosner as well, with Christoph Erni, Claudio Schiavone, Von Skeltermar, Eric Prinot and Eric Chung occupying the top 5 places. So the cars will get themselves into grid order now, and we will be ready to go racing. 30-minute race duration. It's not a number of laps, it is a 30-minute race duration for the Ferrari Challenge cars in the Coppa Shell as they make their way down now through. This is turn number 13, which is taken absolutely flat out during the race, as we're heading to the 2 turns of Rivazza, turn 14 and turn 15. So Fabien Volvend will have the inside line, of course, by dint of being P1. Henry Hassid alongside. So the safety car will peel off. Let's get ready to go racing. It's race 2, Coppa Shell, Ferrari Challenge, Imola. And the lights go green, and Fabien Volvend does get the jump on Henry Hassid. Henry Hassid, I rather thought, might try and get the jump on Fabien Volvend going into turn number 1, but didn't do so. Vladimir Hladik trying to make his way on the inside of Eric Chung. It is Fabien Volvend that's leading from Henry Hassid. He's P2. Then it is Johnny Lawson, he's P3. Manuela Gosner loses out to her father, Thomas Gosner. We're on board with the Johnny Lawson car looking back, and it's been another phenomenal start from Von Skeltermar. Henry Hassid already all over the back of the Fabien Volvend car, trying to find a way past the 101 machine that's engineered by the Octane 126 team. Von Skeltermar, as I said then, he's made a brilliant start from P6 up to P4. And Fabien Volvend now will have to try and make that 488, forgive me, as wide as possible to try and prevent Henry Hassid coming through. But Henry Hassid is going to be under pressure himself from Johnny Lawson. He's right in the middle of this sandwich, of course, and becomes a hunter as well as being hunted also as they make their way uphill now towards the Variante Alta. Fabien Volvend leading then. And the start is under investigation, can tell you that from our race control screens, that the start under investigation. So if anything comes by way of penalties, we will make sure that you are aware of that. The start under investigation. So Fabien Volvend now down into the first of the Rivazza turns, turn number 14. Turn number 15 is the second of those Rivazza turns. And we'll put 1 lap in the book at the end of this straight that isn't a straight, really. Fabien Volvend leading from Henry Hassid, who is P2. And Johnny Lawson lurking in P3. There you can see the order live as they cross the timing line. Into the first chicane then goes Fabien Volvend. Henry Hassid maintaining his position all over the back, trying to get a better exit out of that turn. to try and make an overtake on Fabian Volvend. And at the moment, Henry Hassid also under pressure, though, from Johnny Lawson. So he's having to drive through with vision through the windscreen and also keeping an eye on the rearview mirror as well, because Johnny Lawson is all over the back of Henry Hassid, and he could be the one that would really benefit here, potentially. The back end of the Henry Hassid car, let's go, and it steps out. Johnny Lawson not quite close enough to be able to take advantage, but got a better exit out of that turn. That gives him a slight speed advantage. But Henry Hassid, once again, is able to close the door and prevent Johnny Lawson from coming through. But this is the biggest battle, and of course, the more Henry Hassid and Johnny Lawson battle together, that means that Fabienne Volvend is able to get up the road and just concentrate on her race and not worry about those that are trying to attack her from behind. So there is our race leader, Fabienne Volvend. P2 is Henry Hassid, who bounces the car through the curb. So too does Johnny Lawson behind. So the start then that is under investigation, and there the replay. And von Skeltermar with a phenomenal start. And that might be one of the things that's under investigation, although there was Christoph Herney also making good too. So we will see. And Claudio Schiavone also trying to come up the inside of Thomas Gostner. And Thomas Gostner seemed to bog down there and lost out. There you can see the 161 car was slowing. So well, there's a problem for Thomas Gostner just at the start there, because Eric Chung also tried to come through. Thomas Gostner fought back. That was all in replay. Fastest lap comes from Fabienne Volvend now, a 1:45.937 in race conditions. And all three are beginning to stretch their legs a little bit at the top positions. Fabienne Volvend, the gap between herself and Henry Hassid is some 7 tenths. Then there's a further 7 or 8 tenths back to Johnny Lawson. So they've all spread just a little bit. Fabienne Volvend looking pretty comfortable, to be fair, and not being pressured too much at this point by Henry Hassid. All going to be about tyre management now through until the end of the race. There is Manuela Gostner, who has slipped down to P5. And there is the Johnny Lawson car then in P3 as they climb uphill now towards turns 11 and 12, the chicane, which Fabienne Volvend, for the moment, seems to have everything completely under control. Henry Hassid gets just a little bit closer now. Von Skeltermar being chased down by Manuela and Thomas Gostner. The two members of the Gostner family remain close together in the race. It's P5 and 6 at the moment for those two. And Christoph Herney is behind Thomas Gostner, and Christoph Herney will try and get past. Drive-through penalty for car number 162, which is Christoph Herney, the very driver that we were just talking about. He is alleged to have jumped the start, as to Claudio Schiavone. I'm perhaps less surprised by the Schiavone penalty than... I didn't really see the Christoph Herney start. So jump start then for both Christoph Herney and Claudio Schiavone. They both get a drive-through penalty for those jump starts. So Manuela Gostner now trying to come back at von Skeltermar, who clearly had a very good start and was not under investigation, presumably. And it's Manuela Gostner, the lady racer, chasing him down. We've got a lady racer leading the race at the moment by 1.2 seconds. That's Fabienne Volvend. And this battle for P4 between von Skeltermar then, Manuela Gostner and Thomas Gostner. Ignore the black car. That is Christoph Herney, who will be going in to serve a drive-through penalty. So that will elevate the likes of Vladimir Hladek and Eric Prenot and Eric Chung, and also bring Murat Kuhadaroglu into the top 10. So up the hill the cars go then. The two Gostner cars engineered by the Ineco MP team. Von Skeltermar, confirmed Kessel racing driver, and has been with Kessel for a number of years. The team run by Ronnie Kessel. There is our race leader, Fabienne Volvend, and Henry Hassid just closes the gap a little bit under braking going through Ravazza 1. Of course, Johnny Lawson is in a reasonable position at the top of the table in terms of the championship, and providing he can bank good points. He knows that the championship is still coming to him potentially, and therefore is not going to fight too hard, presumably, and therefore is going to be happy with the position that he's in at the moment. Henry Hassid going through the speed trap at 279 kilometers per hour. So Henry Hassid's last lap was quicker than that of Fabian Volvend, but Fabian Volvend has the advantage of having her 4.88 ahead of the Frenchman. So fastest lap, as you can see, confirmed on screen for you, 1:45.106 for Henry Hassid. And around has gone Claudio Schiavone. Claudio Schiavone, one of those drivers that's got a drive-through penalty for a jump start. Another Kessel driver is now his car is pointing in the right direction, and this is how it went wrong for Claudio Schiavone, carrying too much speed into that chicane, and the car just goes around, and we can see it again from a different camera angle there as Claudio Schiavone finds himself pointing in the wrong direction and loses out on a handful of places. Vladimir Hladík and Eric Prinot fighting hard over P8 at the moment. Bear in mind that will become P7 when Christoph Ernie comes in for his drive-through penalty. Hasn't done so yet. So there is Prinot, Vladimir Hladík, and then Eric Chung behind them. So there is Eric Chung, another one of the Formula Racing drivers, the same team that is running the Johnny Lawson car, which is currently P3. So Prinot then, heavy braking now into turn number 14. Bit of a lock-up from Vladimir Hladík allows Eric Chung to get a little bit closer to him. Eric Chung, and there comes Christoph Ernie diving into the pit lane to serve his drive-through penalty. So the likes of Eric Prinot, Vladimir Hladík, Eric Chung and Murat Kuhadaroglu will all move themselves up one place. Where will Christoph Ernie return? Well, it's going to be right at the back of the pack, to be honest with you. Makes his way through the pit lane for his drive-through penalty. Fabian Volvend then, the first 9 3/4 minutes of the race she has led without a problem. 7/10 is the margin between herself and Henry Hassid. It has been more than that, but Henry Hassid has gradually been creeping back by consistently being quicker over the laps. But Fabian Volvend has her nose in front, and therefore Henry Hassid can be quicker, but he's got to find a way past the lady racer, and currently isn't even close enough to contemplate an overtake. But they have both broken away from Johnny Lawson by some measure. The margin between P2 and P3 is some 4.5 seconds. And there is von Skeltermaar running in P4 with the two Ghostners, Manuela and Thomas, right behind. So there, the battle for the P4 position that we're watching on screen, which is between von Skeltermaar, Manuela Ghostner and Thomas Ghostner. Von Skeltermaar then brakes, turns in. Manuela Ghostner chasing hard, but similar circuit is not a particularly easy circuit necessarily to set up and overtake. Perhaps one of the opportunities is here if you can get the toe off the back of the car, but Manuela is not close enough to be able to do so. Von's really tugging and hugging the inside of that turn number 1, and this was the battle going on between the cars of James Wayland and Tadakazu Kojima. James Wayland making his way up the order. It was a lowly start for James Wayland right at the back of the grid. So both Herney and Claudio Schiavone have been in to serve their drive-through penalties, and the race is continuing to be led by Fabian Volvend from Henry Hassid. Then it's Johnny Lawson before this battle going on behind, which is for P4, which is currently with von Skeltermaar, with Manuela Ghostner, Thomas Ghostner, and some way down the order, or some way down the road, is Eric Prinot, who's trying to get involved with that as well. So von Skeltermaar then in the 177 car, continuing to be chased by Manuela Ghostner, who makes sure that Fonz's rearview mirrors full of the green and black machine of Manuela Ghostner to try and pressure him and try and provoke a little mistake. But at the moment, none coming from von Skeltema, who's driving very, very good laps each and every lap. And Manuela doesn't really look quite close enough to be able to challenge Fons at the moment. So Fons dials in a drive-through penalty, which is the second drive-through penalty for Christoph Herney. Now, basically, when he took the first drive-through penalty, when he came out of the pit lane, he crossed the white line, which is an absolute no-no. If you cross the white line at the pit exit, you get another drive-through penalty. So that's exactly what Christoph Herney has got, and that's thoroughly ruined his race, that's for sure. P1, P2, and there is the P3 car of Johnny Lawson. So Fabian Volvend doing very well here. The margin between Fabian Volvend and Henry Hassid is now 1.2 seconds. So Fabian Volvend with the Octane 126101 car leading Henry Hassid, which potentially this could bring to a close the 5-strong race win performance from Henry Hassid. Because Fabian Volvend, there, as you can see on the left-hand side of the order. And the grid progression, it's von Skeltema who made up 4 places, and Manuela and Thomas Gosner both dropping down 1. Vladimir Hladik, another one that had a very good start, making up 4 places. And James Wayland is the biggest scorer of the lot, though, having moved up 9 places since the start of the race and finds himself in P13 at the moment, ahead of Ingvar Mattson and Tadakazu Kojima. So the von Skeltema 177 car, and there is Manuela Gosner. This battle for P4, which continues to rage. Of course, Manuela Gosner not even enjoying the being the Ladies' Cup leader, because that is with Fabian Volvend. That is the closest Manuela Gosner has got to von Skeltema. So Fons now is beginning to feel the pressure ever more, because going into the Ravazza turn, Manuela Gosner as close as she has been. P5 for Manu. As you can see, the pit board is held over the pit wall. So Skeltema there. Manuela through the speed trap at 279 kilometers per hour. And 280 kilometers per hour for both Fabian Volvend and Henry Hassid through the speed trap. And Volvend, a fastest lap, the first sub 145 lap of the race, a 144.952. And now Skeltema is having to make his 488 a degree wider than it is, because Manuela Gosner now is looking for the opportunity to come past the von Skeltema car. So as they run downhill now, von Skeltema takes a little bit more curve than he has been doing. This is a tricky turn to get right, that turn 10, Aqua Minerali, before you start climbing uphill. And here they come into view once again at the start of the Variante Alta, turns 11 and 12. And again, Fons just looking a little more ragged, perhaps, than Manuela, who was smoother through there, but it was quicker for Skeltema, fact, because he is built up just a car length or so over Manuela Gosner. This is where she can gain under braking, going into Ravazza 1. This is Ingvar Mattson having a battle with the 145 car of Laurent Demus, and the pressure beginning to tell on Ingvar Mattson as he ran wide there out into the gravel, and Laurent Demus was able to move himself up a further place. This is the race leader, Fabian Volvend from Henry Hassid and Johnny Lawson. Fabian Volvend looking really, really comfortable leading the race, just nailing every apex. Very young lady racer, of course, and her mum watches on and is pleased with her performance thus far and doesn't much like being on the telly, truthfully. But there, the back end of the 101 car did just get loose for a moment. David Lim, the yellow car ahead, is a back-marking car. Here's Johnny Lawson, who's some way down the road by some 5.5 seconds or so in comparison to Henry Hassid and Fabian Volvend. The live points, as it would look at the moment, it would be Johnny Lawson on 171 points and Henry Hassid on 148 if it stays this way, which would mean Hassid has 23 points down on Johnny Lawson, which is great news for us because, of course, it means the championship goes all the way to Mugello, which is what we want it to do, truthfully. Johnny Lawson very sensibly knows that he just needs to bank points and not try too hard for race wins. So Manuela Gostner still finds herself behind von Skeltermar, has not been able to find a way past yet. Bloomin' heck, the first 2/3 of the race are almost done because we have 12.5 minutes remaining in the race. Under braking then, Skeltermar once again, Manuela Gostner able to get a little bit closer, and it's now where she needs to try and set up a move, potentially going into turn 1, then turns 2 and 3. But Skeltermar has got the pace advantage around and through the start-finish straight. Manuela Gostner left in the wake a little bit because Skeltermar's car has got the power. Of course, they're all the same, but the setups that come from the teams change from team to team, of course. And there is Eric Prinot, who's also a Ineco MP driver. So basically, you've got the 3 Ineco MP drivers in P5, P6, and P7. There's Eric Chung chasing down Vladimir Hladik. So Eric Chung, one of the longest-serving drivers in the Ferrari Challenge. And the margin between the two of them has been seesawing, as you can see, over the last 4 laps or so. 7 tenths, 4 tenths, and 9 tenths. On board with the Formula Racing driver Eric Chung right now. Oh, and Vladimir Hladik ran really wide. Eric Chung then wasn't quite able to take advantage because he too ran wide. It's perhaps an opportunity lost there for Eric Chung. Takes the curbs, back on the throttle once again. It's fantastic, this roller coaster circuit here at Imola. On board with Eric Chung, as we were really enjoying that. So von Skeltermar maintaining his position in P4, untroubled currently by Manuela Gostner. Everything she's thrown at the Kessel driver ahead has been batted away. Manuela much tighter through that first Rivazza turn and through the second Rivazza turn as well. But it's here where, when Fons puts his foot down, seems to have the ability just to put a couple of car lengths on Manuela Gostner as they head up towards turn number 1. And of course the first set of chicanes, the Tamburello section. So Fons under braking now, Manuela as well. And there you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, Fabienne Volvend leading with a margin of 1.084 seconds. Johnny Lawson now is 9 seconds down on P1 and P2. In turn, he's 5 seconds ahead of von Skeltermar. And this battle that's going on. So back-marking car keeps well out of the way. Good awareness of who's on the track and who's around. David Lim will be the next of the back-marking cars. So Karl Opperthauser getting out of the way. David Lim will do the same and allow these to come through unhindered by slower cars that are out there on the track. 9.5 minutes of the race remaining. There is David Lim then keeping out of the way of von Skeltermar. And Manuela Gostner needs to get past David Lim very quickly if she wants to maintain her position of chasing down von Skeltermar, because Skeltermar now with the back marker has just advantaged himself by about 5 or 6 car lengths now, and it's the biggest gap there's been between P4 and P5 in the race thus far. All about racecraft, of course, and passing those slower cars. And David Lim is one of those back-marking cars. Fabian Volven now losing out a little bit to Henry Hassid as he narrows the gap to just 6 tenths. So over the final stages of this race, are we going to see another challenge from Henry Hassid as he tries to find his way past Fabian Volvend? There you can see the live gap between Fabian Volvend and Henry Hassid. So Henry Hassid, as I say, Fabian Volvend could make history by being the first lady racer to win in the Ferrari Challenge and also bring Henry Hassid's remarkable run of victories to a close. And at the moment she's looking pretty comfortable, the Octane 126 engineered 101 car. But certainly the margin between the two of them has come down just a little bit, although Fabian Volvend just appears to turn the wick up a bit more now. Under braking then through that Acqua Minerale turn and climb uphill towards the Variante Alta. The Claudio Schiavone car is just up the road in front of them as a back marking car now running in P20. Hassid tighter off that turn than Fabian Volvend. Down underneath the bridge then, taken flat is this turn number 13, before the front of the car really compresses under braking to go into the two Ravazza turns. And there is the 147 car of Henry Hassid then, that has been in P2 for far longer than Henry Hassid would like. However, hasn't been able to find a way past Fabian Volvend, and truthfully hasn't looked really troubling to Fabian Volvend, who has the margin now of some 9/10, the live gap as they cross the timing line. And this in replay is Thomas Gosner taking a somewhat unorthodox entry into that chicane. All was fine there, but that means that Manuela Gosner has opened up just a little bit of a further gap over her father, who is currently running in P6. This, though, the battle for P1 between Fabian Volvend and Henry Hassid. And it's at this point, with 6.5 minutes of the race remaining, where tyre degradation may play its part, as we can see Johnny Lawson looking a bit wayward there, although he's completely out on his own because he's some 12 seconds down on the Henry Hassid car, but he's 7 seconds ahead of von Skeltermar, so really has got the track completely and totally to himself. There you can see von Skeltermar just coming into the picture now. That battle for P4 between himself and Manuela hasn't really changed very much, other than Fons just looks a little bit more comfortable. He's got some 8/10 over Manuela at the moment in the number 183 car that's centre picture now. Von Skeltermar then is running in P4. Best of the gentlemen racers is Henry Hassid, who's racing in P2 and continuing to try and chase down Fabian Volvend, but is running out of time perhaps, with just over 5.5 minutes left of the race to run. Manuela Gosner knows that that's the case as well, that the time is running out to try and find her way past von Skeltermar, but it hasn't come easy thus far. Fon's doing a very good job, lap after lap, very consistent in terms of his pace. Hasn't made any errors. And there you can see the different lines that Fons and Manuela take through that Ravazza 1, which is turn number 14. And this is where Manuela Gosner gets right on the back end of von Skeltermar, but as he stretches his legs and opens up the power of the 488 car, just leaves Manuela Gosner a couple of car lengths, which is just too much. And there you can see the margin between the two of them. So in the final 5 minutes of the race, into the first chicane, both go. It's P4 and P5 that we're watching the battle over. And Fabian Volvend now perhaps under a little bit more pressure from Henry Hassid than has been for the last few laps, that's for sure. Wants to hold on to this and really make history in a Ferrari Challenge car by being the first lady to win the race. And she's 4.5 minutes away from the checkered flag. And Christian Birchinger, the team principal of Octane 126, would be truly delighted. Leap of faith with Fabienne at Monza earlier in the year when she made her Ferrari Challenge debut, and did so with some credit, to be fair to her, finishing race 1 in P5 position. Sadly, she got involved in a crash which was nothing to do with her in the second race, and it was a DNF. Murat Kuhadaroglu and Christian Kinch are battling here. That's further down the order somewhat. It's the battle going on for P10 and P11, as you can see. The back-to-guard car of Christian Kinch back out on track after an absence following a crash also at Monza, where he took a bit of a rest from racing to completely recuperate and recover. But he made his return to racing at Silverstone just a couple of weeks ago. So Volvend and Hassid now just 5/10 apart. Murat Kuhadaroglu there bouncing the car through the curbs, and Christian Kinch right behind, and behind them is James Wayland, who's running in P12. We reckon we've got 3 more laps to run. That's 3 more laps for Fabian Volvend to hold on, but it's the margin between the two of them is down to 3/10 now as we look at the James Wayland car. We'll go back to the battle at the front very soon, I'm sure, because it is obviously hotting up. Sure enough, there it is, the battle for P1. Backmarking cars to navigate their way through. Fabian Volvend at the moment, he's leading, but Henry Hassid, it's the final charge as they head towards the checkered flag. So Fabian Volvend needs now not to buckle under the pressure of the Frenchman behind, because she has led every single lap of the race and has not made an error and has not made a mistake and has not looked threatened or challenged too much from Henry Hassid. It would be a crying shame in the final stages of the race for her to lose the race lead. Henry Hassid is pushing, and he's pushing jolly hard. Of course, hugely successful racing driver, perhaps at the other end of his career to Fabian Volvend, who's a young lady racer and an emerging talent, there's no question, in terms of GT racing, as we can see here. She crosses the timing line, the live gap between the two of them. It's close, really, really close. And Fabian Volvend then has got to hold on as Henry Hassid continues to mount pressure on the Fabian Volvend car ahead. They've both been consistently so quick, lapping in the 146.3s and 146.2 last lap for Henry Hassid, so could sense and tell that he was quicker than Fabian Volvend, but has not been able to find a way past. He's perhaps really rather hoping that his pace and the fact that his car is there ever present in the rearview mirrors of Fabian Volvend will provoke a mistake from the young lady racer, but it hasn't happened. It hasn't come. She has thus far driven faultlessly, not made any errors. And this is Johnny Lawson, who's running in P3 and runs through the grass and the gravel as well. Still manages to hold on to that P3 place, but really rather unhelpfully drags a load of gravel out onto the track as well. So Fabian Volvend then has got the remainder of this lap and one more before Henry Hassid, his winning streak will potentially come to an end. Down they go towards the Ravazza turns. Fabian Volvend then turns in, so too does Henry Hassid. Henry knows that he's got one lap more to try and move himself up to P1. It's P2 at the moment, and Fabian Volvend is about to cross the timing line now to start what will be the last lap in this Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell race. So Hassid then tries to find just a little bit more, but I think Fabian Volvend has built sufficient of a margin now. Although, does she run wide? Well, through the gravel and all the debris that's left out on the track, she doesn't. Christoph Herney returning following his two drive-through penalties. As we watch the rest of the cars come through, there is Fabian Volvend. And there is Henry Hassid. She's got these backmarking cars ahead of her. It would be a crying shame if a backmarking car caused a problem on the final lap, but I think they're far enough up the road to not cause problems for Fabian Volvend. Henry Hassid looks like he's given up the chase, and that Fabian Volvend could make history here at Imola in the Ferrari Challenge. So the live gap between the two of them, it's up to, well, it's 1.6 seconds between the two of them. Fabian Volvend, providing nothing goes wrong now, I think has done enough. The final lap of this Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell races. Fabienne throws the car through the chicanes and will head downhill now. She has just 3-4 more turns to do before the checkered flag. There's a yellow flag at turn number 18. So Fabian Volvend then rounds Ravazza 2. There is one more turn. The checkered flag will be unfurled. It will be a win for Octane 126 and the first win for a lady in the Ferrari Challengers. Fabian Volvend wins from Henry Hassid, P2. P3 goes the way of Johnny Lawson. The fight for P4 will remain going the way of von Skeltermar. P5, Manuela Gostner ahead of her father, Thomas Gostner. What an extraordinary race in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell then, as Fabienne Volvend wins. And you can see the pace advantage they had over P3, 4, 5 and 6. Octane 126 are very happy. The teams celebrate a victory, and a history-making victory in the Ferrari Challenge as well, as Fabienne Volvend wins. There's Eric Chung. And we're on board the Eric Chung car right now. So brilliant driving from Fabienne Volvend to bank the win. It was P2 yesterday. And that also brings to an end the streak of wins for Henry Hassid as the final cars cross the line. What a race indeed. 2 P3s for Johnny Lawson across the weekend. A brilliant race for Manuela Gostner as well. She takes P5, but there is Fabienne Volvend, the winner for Octane 126. Well, Henry Hassid on a couple of occasions tried his level best, but in the end it was not enough. There is Johnny Lawson, who very sensibly has just made sure that he's in a very good points-paying position, which certainly helps his position in terms of the margin in the Drivers' Championship between himself and Henry Hassid. Christian Berchinger then, the team principal of Octane 126, straight in there to welcome his driver out of the car. She's done a brilliant job, absolutely brilliant. I so hope that we'll see Fabienne Volvend at the Mugello in the World Finals. And Fabienne then is lifted by Christian Berchinger on top of the car. She is a race winner here at Imola. P1 for Fabienne Volvend. There is Henry Hassid then, who takes P2, and he very gallantly will be the very first other driver, I'm sure, to congratulate Fabienne Volvend. Brilliant drive. She'll be in race action next weekend in a tin top at Hockenheim in Germany. But here in Italy, she's won the race. Johnny Lawson out of the car as well. He takes P3. So scenes of great celebration down there in Parc Fermé, as you would expect. At last, the crash helmet comes off and the hands device. And there, confirmation of the order then. Volvend taking the win from Hassid, Lawson, Skeltermar, Gostner, Manuela and Thomas, Eric Prinot, Vladimir Haladik, Eric Chung and Murat Kuhadaroglu rounding out the top 10 in car number 133. P11 goes the way of Christian Kinch in car number 128. And here, Laurent Demuse on the inside of the 127 car of Tommy Lindroth. Unfortunately, that meant the Laurent Demuse car was in the gravel. So drivers will be hustled up to the podium in just a few moments' time, and we will see that podium celebration. Stand by, here it comes. So the podium being ready to the left of the picture. Michele Mambarelli then ready to bring the drivers out onto the podium. We can see Johnny Lawson lurking there, and Fabian Volvend, of course, going to the top step of the podium. P3 then for Johnny Lawson. Good points for his championship position. Henry Hassie then takes P2. But taking the win, her first win in Ferrari Challenge, the first win ever of a lady in Ferrari Challenge, Fabian Volvend, P1. So trophies about to be presented then. Mr. Antonello Coletta then making the trophy presentations. The Ferrari GT Sporting Activities Director makes the trophy presentation to Henry Hassie. And Fabian Volvend then won. Of course, it'll be double bubble because you'll get the Ladies' Cup trophy as well. Henry Hassie gets the gentleman trophy. And here comes the ladies' trophy as well. So 2 trophies for Fabian Volvend. So big smiles all round then. Here comes the champagne as Fabian's mum looks on. Trofeo Pirelli, next race on track at 13:35 GMT, as you can see on screen. And here comes the challenge show now. So in the Drivers' Championship then, Johnny Lawson on 171, Henry Hassie on 149, and von Skeltermar P3 in the Drivers' Championship on 96 points. So Johnny Lawson then goes into the final 2 races in Mugello with a reasonable margin over Henry Hassie, who has done his level best to chase him in the Drivers' Championship. Super slow-mos at the top 3 then. This is Johnny Lawson. Taking P2 for the Charles Pozzi team, it's Henry Hassie. And taking the win for Octane 126 and the first ever lady race winner in the Ferrari Challenge, it is Fabienne Volvend. So what a remarkable race then, making history on so many counts. Of course, double winner on the podium because Fabienne Volven not only taken the trophy for the race win, but also taken the Ladies' Cup win as well, beating Manuela Gosner. Here come the highlights. So the race start was under observation from the race stewards to make sure that it all goes very well. Claudio Schiavone deciding to take a line which was really rather unorthodox, and he would be penalised later with a drive-through penalty for a potential jump start. Well, race steward judged it to be a definite jump start. James Wayland was going to have to make up a lot of places from being right at the back of the grid, and he set about his charge very comprehensively. Von Skeltermar was going to come under pressure from Manuela Gosner throughout the race. They were arguing and fighting over P4, and Ingvar Madsen and Laurent Demuze were fighting as well, but the pressure from Laurent Demuze meant that Ingvar Madsen ran wide into the gravel. Eric Chung also had a great opportunity to get past Vladimir Haladik, but he almost made a duplicate copy of the wide-running mistake. Manuela Gosner threw everything at it, including going over the curbs to try and get on terms with Von Skeltermar. It wasn't to be. But it was to be for this young lady, Fabienne Volven, then, who drove faultlessly for 30 minutes in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell to take the win. Fabienne Volven won. Her mum, on the right-hand side of the picture, was as delighted as the Octane 126 team. And Henry Hassid, who certainly knew he'd been in that 30-minute race, was one of the first to go and congratulate her, as was Johnny Lawson, who took P3. A show of strength from the team boss as Christian Berchinger hoisted his lady race winner to the top of the car, and it was the top step of the podium where she would stand. So there we have it then, a phenomenal race in Coppa Shell from the Ferrari Challenge. Make sure you join us for the Trofeo Pirelli race a little bit later this afternoon. In fact, at 13:35 GMT. Bye-bye.